never plan to tell anyone the truth about who I am. Not because I'm hiding something dark or because I'm embarrassed. It's simpler than that. People act differently around you when they think you matter. They talk differently, joke differently, stand differently, they perform. And I wanted to know how people behave when they think you're no one. So I worked quietly, kept my head down, did my tasks, clocked out on time. I didn't brag, didn't push, didn't interrupt. I liked blending in. I liked being just Evan. It was easier than being the guy whose father's name was on the building. Then came Liam. He joined the company 6 months after me, and from day one he treated the office like a stage he'd been waiting his whole life to perform on. Loud, confident, insecure in all the ways that make a man dangerous. He'd slap shoulders too hard, laugh too loud, and talk about his future corner office like it was already built. People tolerated him the way you tolerate sudden cold wind. Annoying, but temporary. But with me, he wasn't just loud, he was deliberate. Man, Evan, you really aiming for the bottom, huh? Still stuck in that entry-level stuff. Brutal. You ever think about doing something with your life? Or is this the dream? He'd say these things in front of others, always with a grin, as if he were doing me a favor by motivating me. I'd chuckle sometimes because silence only feeds guys like him. But even then, he knew he could get away with it. I wasn't confrontational. I didn't fight back. I gave him nothing to push against. And the thing that fueled him most was that I never reacted. There's something about a quiet man that irritates loud men. They need resistance. They crave it. Liam wanted me to flinch, defend myself, argue, prove him wrong, but I didn't. So he pushed harder. He'd lean on my desk, watching me type. You know they're hiring in fast food, right? You'd be manager day one compared to this. You're a smart guy, Evan. Just not ambitious. Shame, really. I never told him I had more shares in the company than our entire department combined. I never told him the board had asked me to work from the ground level for a year to understand the operations before stepping into the position that was already waiting for me. I never told him I grew up walking these halls with my father, learning every division like it was part of our home. He saw a quiet guy making spreadsheets. He didn't see the silent owner learning his own company, but I didn't hate him. Not then. I just felt tired, like watching someone trip over their own ego in slow motion. Then came the moment that shifted everything. It was a Tuesday morning meeting, nothing special. Coffee, dull lights, half-awake faces around a conference table. People were mumbling updates when Liam decided the room needed entertainment. So, he said loudly, leaning back in his chair, Evan's going to give his weekly report. Try to stay awake. The guy's basically a walking screensaver. A couple of people gave small, nervous laughs. Most didn't. There's a kind of silence that feels heavy, like everyone recognizes a line just got crossed. I felt my chest tighten, not with anger, but with clarity. I kept my face neutral, my voice steady. I gave my report like nothing happened. Liam smirked the whole time, swinging a pen between his fingers like he'd won some tiny battle no one else was fighting. The meeting ended. People filtered out. Liam walked past me, slapped my shoulder, and said, "Come on, man, don't look so wounded. It's just banner. You want to get ahead in life? You got to toughen up." I looked at him for the first time in a long time. Really looked. He mistook my silence for weakness. He always had. But something inside me moved. Not a spark, not a snap. More like a door quietly unlocking somewhere deep in the house. I realized very calmly, this man had no idea who he was talking to. He had no idea what room he was standing in. He had no idea how thin the ice under him really was. I walked to my desk, opened my email, and typed a message I'd been postponing for months. A message that, until that morning, I had no intention of sending yet. It was short, direct, and it changed everything that followed. Because that moment, the shoulder slap, the smirk, the casual disrespect, wasn't just another joke. It was the last one. When I hit send, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt steady, grounded. Like a man finally stepping into a room he should have entered long ago, and I didn't know it yet. But that decision would cost Liam everything. I didn't write a long speech in that email. No manifesto, no dramatic paragraphs. I wrote 6 lines to one person. Hi, Marion. I'd like to move up the timeline we discussed regarding my transition. There's a personnel situation I want you to be aware of in my department. I'll send details separately, but I'm ready. Let me know when you're back in the building. Evan. Marion has been my father's lawyer since before I was born. Now she sits on the board and chairs most of the meetings. She's one of the few people who knows exactly who I am and exactly why I've been sitting in a cubicle for a year making reports. I hit send, then opened a second email. This one was longer, with bullet points and dates. Not complaints, facts. Every time Liam had taken a shot at me in front of others. Every time he derailed a meeting with jokes at someone's expense. The day he forgot to copy me on a client email so he could look like the one doing all the work. The time he told the intern to ask Evan he likes busy work. I added witnesses where I could, kept my language clean. I didn't ask for anyone to be fired. I didn't even use the word harassment. I just laid out a pattern and ended it with, I'm not looking for protection. I'm asking for clarity. If this is the culture this department rewards, I need to know before I take on more responsibility. I read it twice, took out one sentence that sounded angrier than I felt, and hit send. 2 minutes later, Marion replied, Got it. I'll be in at 2. Can you spare 20 minutes at 2:30 in my office? I stared at the screen. That was fast, even for her. Sure, I wrote back. I'll be there. I wish I could say I felt triumphant. I didn't. I felt heavier, actually. Like when you finally pick up a box you've been walking around for months. It's a relief to hold it, but it still weighs what it weighs. Liam showed up at my desk an hour later, coffee in hand, same smirk. You good, man? He asked. Yeah, I said. Why? You were quiet in there. Quieter than usual, I mean. I thought my comedy set might have been too much for you. He grinned like we were co-conspirators. It was noted, I replied. He frowned. By who? By the people who needed to note it. He laughed like I'd told a joke and walked away, already bored. That was Liam's gift. He could be cruel and forget it in the same breath. Other people had to live with what he said. He didn't. But that was the last day he did it, without someone watching. At 2:30, I walked up to the executive floor. Most people down in our rows only go there for holiday parties or performance reviews. The air's colder up there, like they pay extra for different oxygen. Frosted glass, thicker carpet, quieter voices. Marion's assistant nodded when she saw me. You can go right in, Mr. Hale. Nobody downstairs knew me as that. Down there, I'm just Evan. Up here, the last name still means something. Marion stood as I entered, silver hair, sharp eyes, blazer that probably cost more than my car. She hugged me briefly, then stepped back into professional mode. Sit, she said. Tell me what's going on. I walked her through everything. I didn't embellish. I didn't need to. She read the email again on her screen as I spoke, jaw tightening slightly at some of the dates. And you've never responded in kind? She asked. No, I said. I've set small boundaries where I could. Mostly I've let it slide. I wanted to see who he'd be when he thought no one important was watching. She gave me a look. You are important, Evan. I know that, I said. He doesn't. That's kind of the point. She sighed. Your father wanted you to see the company from the floor, not to become a punching bag. Consider this data, I replied. Now I know what some people are comfortable doing when they think there's no consequence. A small corner of her mouth lifted. Spoken like a board member. Then it faded. All right. Here's what we'll do. HR's already had a file on some borderline behavior in your department. This gives context. I'll inform David. Does he know? I asked, meaning the CEO. She nodded. He knows who you are. Only a few of us do. He's been waiting to hear when you were ready. She tapped her pen on the desk. If you're serious about moving up the timeline, we can start formalizing things. Quietly. But as for this Liam, she looked at the monitor again, we'll follow process, document, observe. Give him the same fairness we'd give anyone else. That's all I'm asking, I said. And if this escalates, she added, you will tell me. Directly. No more taking notes in silence. I agreed. We shook hands. To anyone passing by, it probably looked like a quick check-in between an exec and a low-level analyst. No one downstairs saw it. No one heard the switch flip. Walking back to my floor felt different. The same fluorescent lights, the same coffee stains on the carpet, the same hum of printers. But now I knew that there were eyes on our little corner. Not mine, the company's. Liam was at the snack bar telling a story to two coworkers about how he'd carried a client call that morning. I'd been on that call. I watched him exaggerate his contribution by about 80%, arms moving, voice rising, rewriting reality in real time. When he saw me, he raised his voice even more. Right, Evan, tell them how I saved that presentation. You were there. He wanted me to play along. I could see it in his eyes. Say the line. Validate the myth. You spoke a lot, I said simply. The client ended up asking for my data set in the follow-up email. The room went quiet for a second. Not dramatic, just awkward. Liam's smile twitched. Yeah, we make a good team, he said quickly. I charm, he charts, like that. Later that week, our manager announced he'd be sitting in on more of our team calls for alignment. HR pushed out a training email about respectful communication in hybrid teams. Liam made a joke about it before the meeting. They're really trying to turn us into robots, huh? He said, rolling his eyes. Soon we'll have to ask permission to breathe. Nobody laughed. People had started to get tired. The injustice didn't disappear overnight. If anything, it sharpened. Now that I'd spoken up, I noticed more. The way Liam talked over quieter coworkers. The way he'd repeat someone else's idea and sell it louder. The way our managers sometimes looked away instead of stepping in. But something else shifted too. One afternoon, after Liam cut off a junior analyst 3 times in a row, I closed my laptop slowly and said in front of everyone, let her finish. The room froze. Liam blinked, thrown off. I was just interrupting, I said. Again. Let her finish. My voice wasn't loud. That's what made it land. The analyst, Maya, finished her point, hands shaking a little. It was a good idea. Our manager nodded and said, let's go with that version. When the meeting ended, Maya sent me a message. Thanks for that. I stared at it for a second before answering. You shouldn't need someone to say it. But until you don't, I will. That night, I got a calendar invite from HR and our department head. Career path and responsibilities. Discussion. It was scheduled for the same day Marion had circled for a board strategy session. I knew what those words meant on my side of the table. An adjustment. A shift. The first visible move toward on where I was always meant to sit. Liam saw the invite pop up on my screen as he walked past. Ooh, look at you, he said. Finally getting your little check-in. Don't worry, man, they'll keep you. You're cheap and quiet. Companies love that. He didn't see I'd already received another email. The one CC'd to HR, the CEO, and Marion. Subject line. Regarding analyst Liam Carter, behavior review. That's when things really started to move, and he had no idea his cheap and quiet coworker already owned the floor he was bragging on. I didn't sleep much the night before Liam's important meeting. Not because I was nervous, because everything felt like it was finally aligning into place. And alignment has a strange kind of quiet to it, the kind that feels like the air holding its breath. By morning, the office had a different energy. Not loud, not chaotic, just tense. People sense shifts long before they understand them. A few glances lasted a second longer than usual. A few whispers died quicker. Liam strutted in 10 minutes late with a protein shake and the confidence of a man who believes the world bends around him. Mornin', peasants, he said, tossing his backpack onto his chair. Big day. Heard the higher-ups are watching numbers. If they're smart, they'll notice the guy doing most of the heavy lifting. He winked at me like we were partners in some inside joke. I didn't answer. I didn't need to anymore. At 11:05, our manager approached him. Liam, HR needs you in conference room B at 11:15. There it was, confusion masked by bravado. Oh, sure, Liam said loudly. Probably about that promotion track discussion. Nobody corrected him. He didn't notice that our manager didn't smile. He didn't notice Maya's shoulders tighten. He didn't notice me closing my laptop slowly, watching him the way one watches someone walking into a storm they forecasted themselves. When he left the room, the silence that followed wasn't sympathetic. It was watchful. At 11:15, I headed upstairs, not to follow him, to attend the meeting that had my name on it. Career path and responsibilities. Discussion. But halfway up the stairs, Marion texted me, "Join us. Conference B, sit in." I stopped walking. She had never told me to sit in on something like this. Not yet. Today she wanted me present. The unspoken message was clear. This is yours. See it. I walked down the hall, past the frosted glass panels, past the framed photographs of the company when it still fit into one warehouse. Conference B's door was closed, blinds down. I knocked once. "Come in," Marion said. Inside sat Marion, the HR director, our department head, and Liam. He looked up, confused for half a second, but only half. Then he smirked. "Oh, good," he said. "Moral support?" He had no idea. "Evan," Marion said calmly, "have a seat." My seat was not beside Liam. It was beside her. The change wasn't loud, but Liam noticed. He noticed immediately. He frowned. What's going on?" The HR director folded her hands. "Liam, we're reviewing concerns regarding your conduct. There have been multiple reports about patterns of disrespect, undermining colleagues, and creating a hostile environment." Liam laughed. Actually laughed. "Hostile? Come on. This place is soft. People can't handle a joke anymore." "This isn't about jokes," our department head said. "It's about repeated behavior." Liam scoffed, leaning back. "Okay, so who complained? Maya? She's sensitive. Or was it?" His eyes landed on me. "You?" he said, incredulous. "Seriously? Are you kidding? You're upset about banter?" I didn't answer. Liam shook his head, exasperated. "What is this? You drag the whole council in for some whiny analyst who can't take workplace ribbing? This is ridiculous." "Liam," Marion said softly, and the softness hit harder than any shout, "you are not being accused. You are being evaluated." He blinked. "Evaluated for what?" "Promotability," she said. "Leadership. Fit." He straightened a little. "Okay, well, great. I'm glad we're having this conversation then, because frankly," she cut him off gently, "and right now, your behavior reflects the opposite of leadership. Multiple witnesses, including management, have noted patterns we can't ignore." His jaw tightened. "Patterns according to who?" Marion nodded toward me, and then the shift. His eyes widened just slightly before he caught himself. "No way," he said, laughing again, but quieter. "Come on. You brought him to try to... What? Teach me something?" I finally spoke. "This isn't about teaching you." He scoffed. "So what then? You want revenge? You want to feel big for once?" I didn't raise my voice. "Liam, I've never needed you to feel small for me, to feel big." He blinked. That line rattled him more than anything else. Our department head slid a document across the table. "These are the incidents we have documented. Some from Evan, some from other employees." "Other who?" Liam demanded, flipping pages. "Who said this stuff? Why can't I see their names?" The HR director's tone was clinical. "We protect confidentiality." "This is insane," he muttered. "Insane. I've kept this team running." "No," our manager said quietly. "You've made this team tense. There's a difference." For the first time since I'd known him, Liam sat still. Not slumped, not posing, not talking. Still. Marion closed her folder. Liam, we're not making decisions today. This is the beginning of a review, but I need you to understand something. He looked at her. You've been observed for months. Today's meeting isn't sudden. It's overdue. He stared at the table, then at me, and suddenly I saw it. A flicker. Not fear. Recognition. A man realizing the mirror he was smashing belonged to someone else. He exhaled sharply. Is this why you're here? He asked me quietly. To watch me get torn apart over nothing? His voice wasn't angry now. It was confused. Thrown. Like the ground under him had shifted, and he didn't know where the edge was anymore. I held his gaze. No, I said. I'm here because I stopped staying quiet. I stood. Marion nodded. My part in this was done. As I reached the door, I heard Liam say behind me, Why is he even in this meeting? He's not... I opened the door. They thought I was gone, I said without turning back. I wasn't. The door closed softly. Down the hall, the air felt clearer. Not revenge, not power, just a step. A long overdue step into a place that was always waiting for me. And while the walls upstairs were calm and professional, downstairs, the storm was only beginning. I didn't expect the final blow to happen so fast. Corporate wheels usually turn slow, painfully slow, but when they do lock into place, the sound is unmistakable. It happened 3 days after the meeting. I was in early before most people arrived. I liked the quiet. It reminded me of when I was a kid, walking through the building with my father before anyone else showed up, the halls feeling bigger than they were. At 8:42, my phone buzzed. Marion. Boardroom, 9. Bring your badge. Short, efficient, final. I set my pen down. My hands weren't shaking. They were steady in a way that felt new. At 8:59, I walked into the boardroom. The long table, the skyline view, the leather chairs. This was the part of the building most employees only saw during holiday speeches. Today, it was full. The CEO, 3 board members, HR director, Marion at the head. Liam was already there. His knee bounced under the table, sweat at his temples. His usual swagger was gone. He sat too small for the chair. He didn't look at me. Good, Marion said as I entered. Let's begin. The HR director started. Calm, factual. The conclusion of the review. The patterns, the corroborated reports, the lack of improvement despite multiple prior notes they'd kept discreet. This wasn't a conversation anymore. It was a verdict being read aloud. Liam tried to speak 4 times. Each time, the CEO lifted a hand, not rudely, just firmly, and Liam fell silent. Then Marion turned to me. Evan, she said, before we proceed, the board has an additional matter. The room shifted. The CEO folded his hands. After your father's passing, the board held his shares in trust until you completed the internal training year he requested. He nodded once, respectful. That year is now complete. Liam's head snapped up. What? He blurted. No one answered him. Marion continued, sliding a folder toward me. This confirms transfer of controlling interest as well as your new role. She paused. Effective today. Liam stared at me like the floor had fallen away. What the hell is this? He whispered. What do you mean, controlling interest? He looked at each person at the table, waiting for someone to laugh, to correct the misunderstanding, to tell him it was a prank. No one did. I opened the folder. My name, my father's signature, the board's counter-signatures. Title, Majority Owner and Executive Director. I closed it gently. Liam lunged to his feet. Hold on. This makes no sense. He's an analyst. He's nobody. He doesn't make decisions here. Sit down, the CEO said. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Liam froze, looking at me again, but now with dawning, painful clarity. All this time, he whispered, you let me talk to you like that. You let me... I didn't let you, I said quietly. You chose to. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. The HR director slid another set of papers toward him. Liam, based on the findings of the review and the board's vote, your employment is terminated effective immediately. You'll receive the standard exit package. Security will escort you to collect your belongings. The room went silent. Then Liam laughed. A desperate, broken sound. You all think he's better than me? He's just... He gestured wildly at me, searching for words he'd spent months sharpening. Then he stopped, because none of them fit. The jokes, the insults, the nicknames, all the little daggers he'd thrown to feel taller. They didn't work here. Not anymore. Not against someone he'd never bothered to actually see. He took one step toward me. You could have told me, he said, not angry now, almost pleading. You could have said something. Anything. I didn't need to, I replied. You told me everything I needed to know. He swallowed hard. Security arrived quietly. He didn't fight them, didn't yell, didn't look back. Just walked out carrying the weight of every word he thought had no consequence. The door closed. The boardroom exhaled. The CEO extended his hand. Welcome home, Evan? I shook it. The weight of my father's chair felt real now, but not heavy. Not anymore. Later that afternoon, I walked through the office. People looked up, curious, whispering. Some had already heard something. Rumors travel faster than memos. I wasn't wearing a suit. I wasn't flanked by executives. I was just me. Maya stood near the printers. She gave a small, respectful nod. I nodded back. At my old desk, my badge didn't open the door. Someone had already updated my access. Marion stepped beside me. We moved your things upstairs, she said. Your father would be proud. I didn't trust myself to answer. I walked into my new office, my father's old one, and stood by the window, looking down at the building I'd known since childhood. It didn't feel like a victory. It felt like alignment, a quiet, steady correction. The world returning to the shape it was always meant to take. People think justice comes with fireworks. But real justice? Real justice sounds like a door closing softly behind a man who never thought it would close for him. I sat down in the chair. My chair. The company was mine now, officially, publicly, undeniably. And for the first time in a long time, everything felt still. The good kind of still, the kind you earn.